Welcome. You're listening to Ask the Doulas, a podcast where we talk to experts from all over the country about topics related to pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early parenting. Let's chat.
Hello. This is Kristin Revere with Ask the Doulas, and I am so excited to chat with Laura Navaquin today. Laura is the founder of Nava Consulting LLC and Inspire Her Foundation. Her background is very inspiring. She's a mother of two, soon to be three. Or did you already have your baby?
Yeah, I actually just had my baby in May, so he's now almost 3 months old in about a week or so.
That's what I thought, so I wanted to stop that. And you have nearly 20 years experience in the health insurance industry and climbed the ranks to become vice president of sales, leading and mentoring a successful team. And in 2023, you made the bold decision to leave corporate America and fully immerse yourself in personal endeavors. So since spring of 2023, Laura's been instrumental in expanding the Inspire Her Foundation, enhancing its community presence, and scaling the real estate portfolio of Navaquin properties. She actively mentors students on real estate investing, educating them how to start or grow their portfolio with minimal personal funds through creative financing. In addition to her professional pursuits, Laura is a passionate advocate for pursuing dreams and encourages others through speaking engagements at various conferences. Laura firmly believes that mindset is crucial in achieving success and that no dream is out of reach with determination, the right mindset, and consistency. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely excited to jump in and have this conversation with you today.
Yes, and our topic is all about the benefits of doula care, since you personally benefited from birth doula support. So I'd love to, as birth and postpartum doula, I often share the benefits of the support on our podcast and wherever I can speak about it. But it's nice to have someone who hired doulas to hear, your own personal journey with why you invested, that time and certainly finances in hiring a doula and how it benefited you during not only your labor, but also in pregnancy and that early postnatal phase.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I've been fortunate to have been advised to get a doula since our first child back in 2017. Actually, it was a friend of ours, or actually within a group, who recommended we got a doula. So we sought out, and it was a great opportunity to meet the various different women within the industry and select a doula to move forward with, who we were able to connect with, felt comfortable with, and have her support throughout the pregnancy and, of course, during labor and post-delivery.
Yes, beautiful. So it sounds like you interviewed multiple doulas. It's always helpful to know what was important to you when hiring a doula. Was it more the individual background, or more of a gut connection, or the way the different doulas answered questions? I find that it depends on a client's personality. Some are very analytical and will have 10 questions. They'll ask every doula the same questions and then have a scoring card. Or others, like myself, when I hired doulas, just went on their gut instinct.
Yes, I would say it was a combination of things. Of course, we had a list of questions that I inquired about with each doula that we spoke to that time around, and similar to with my two following deliveries. But I had a list of questions of things that were of value to me and importance to consider during the delivery. And so I worked down that list, and that was the first step. And then the combination of that was just who I felt comfortable with. I think, there's some people that you just have that connection, that vibe with. And of course, delivery and birth is a very intimate occurrence. So I wanted to have somebody that I felt comfortable with overall, especially during the delivery.
Yes. And what was your partner's role in the doula selection process?
So again, he as well, I'm the one that's met with them. So when I interviewed with them, and I was fortunate for majority of them to get to meet with them in person over coffee, just see how I connected with them. And my husband didn't get to join those initial meetings. So he really wanted me to find somebody who I personally felt comfortable with and was supportive in that regard. Other than that, he as well, with the doula that we selected that first time, Alexandra, he felt comfortable with her and connected as well. And they worked well with each other as well.
Excellent. Yes. And I find that it does vary. Sometimes partner schedules, especially during work days, can be difficult to manage. And I made the decision for my family, and then my husband met our doulas once I had hired them. So it does definitely vary based on timing and the stage in pregnancy and the partner availability or interest. I mean, like you said, your husband trusted your choice. And even though he was very invested in being a team with the doula and everyone else, all of the other medical professionals that you were working with in labor.
Yes.
So as far as how a doula supported you, love to hear more about your personal experience.
Yeah, so it was a little different from my first delivery and then my two following pregnancies. So when my first delivery, Alexandra, the doula that we worked with, she supported us during pregnancy. I would say second and third trimesters, where she provided me information on breastfeeding. I'm trying to remember back as well. It was 7, 8 years ago. My son's 7.5 now, but so provided information as far as exercising, movements, diets to consider, breastfeeding information to be considering prior to, and as well just answered any questions that I had that just arose periodically. So I would have a worry or something that would just come to mind, and I would go to her to provide me her input and her expertise in regards to a certain topic. And so that's how she supported me prior to. And then during delivery, the plan was for her to be with me, but there was a change in plans there because my son actually, during that pregnancy, we were supposed to deliver in a birthing center. And at 36 weeks, exactly 36 weeks, I was driving home from a work meeting and I got into a minor car accident, which resulted, everyone was fine, but it resulted in him flipping breech that day. So that last month of pregnancy, I was working on getting him to turn back around, which didn't really end up happening. We found a provider who, we got risked out of the birth center, found a different provider who agreed and was trained and had delivered breech delivery. So we were planning to get to him. He recommended that we labored at home for as long as we could. That being my first pregnancy and delivery, I didn't necessarily know how long was too long or what was enough time. So I labored at home with my mother and my husband for as long as I thought or deemed the right time until we were heading to the hospital. But I guess we waited a little too long because we had to divert that plan and go to a local hospital. So even my doula didn't make it over prior to the delivery. Nonetheless, she showed up and was an immense support postpartum or post delivery with ensuring that it was okay and all the questions I had. My son was taken to NICU at that point in time, but she was a great support thereafter. And even within the following days and weeks, we remained in the hospital for about 4 days with him. And then even after we were discharged, would visit us at home to ensure the baby was latching correctly and help with breastfeeding and positioning and the care of myself and baby postpartum as well.
That is wonderful that you were able to have that support after. And it can be stressful after a surgical birth with a NICU baby and having the husband or partner, follow the baby to the NICU. And then the mother is sometimes alone. And so if there's a doula there, then the doula is able to provide support, come up with a plan for feeding, if pumping is needed, if they had, intended to breastfeed, for example. So yeah, I'm glad you had that postnatal support because navigating the NICU can be quite stressful.
Yes, definitely. Ever since having her with that first delivery, we knew that there was no doubt that we needed a doula support and even our following deliveries because she was such a help in just calming even myself with not, with questions that arose or not knowing what steps were to follow or whatever it may be. But she was an advocate for us within the hospital as well, being with her experience and as well giving us information and comfort. So highly advocate for anyone considering a doula or sitting on the fence whether to hire a doula or not to make that investment in a doula. It's so worth it.
Exactly. I totally agree. And I feel like every doula practices in a different way. So some doulas will come to your home during labor and then follow you over to a hospital or birth center for clients who want to labor at home. And others arrive at a certain stage in labor, say active labor, or provide support for a certain amount of hours. At Gold Coast, we support our clients at whatever stage in labor, wherever they're laboring. So if they're laboring at home and then head to the hospital, then we're following them. Or if they want to rest at home, then they let us know when they would like us to arrive, whether it's in triage or when they're settled in their room, or again, like you had support from your family there and were likely doing well and potentially not knowing, like, as you said, like when to go in or how far along you were. So there can be some of that confusion, and some doulas do not begin their call time until 38 weeks to 42, and we're on call from the moment a contract is signed because we do work with a lot of multiple families, like twins and triplets and high-risk clients. So we found that that alleviates a lot of stress for our clients that may need to deliver earlier than your typical client would.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so as far as the prenatal care, you mentioned your doula offered resources in the community or was willing to chat with you if you had any questions, but did you have in-person or a virtual prenatal visit to prep for the birth and have the doula answer questions?
Hey, Alyssa here. I'm just popping in to tell you about our course called Becoming. Becoming a Mother is your guide to a confident pregnancy and birth, all in a convenient 6-week online program. From birth plans to sleep training and everything in between, you'll gain the confidence and skills you need for a smooth transition to motherhood. Live coaching calls with me and Kristin, tons of expert videos including chiropractic care, pelvic floor physical therapy, mental health experts, breastfeeding, and so much more. You'll also get a private Facebook community with other mothers going through this at the same time as you to offer support and encouragement when you need it most. If you'd like to learn more about the course, you can email us at info@goldcoastdoulas.com or check it out at thebecomingcourse.com. We would love to see you there. We also have a book called Supported, Your Guide to Birth and Baby, which makes a beautiful companion to this course. It's a great book for any expecting mother and is the perfect baby shower gift. You can find information on that book at supportedbook.com.
Yeah, so that first time around, we had prior to that last month, we had virtual meetings. So after she was hired, she had an in-person meeting where she came out, she met my husband as well. And then every couple of weeks, I think it was every 2 weeks, we would do a virtual meeting just to go over questions and whatever it may be up until the last couple of weeks. She came out 2 times to meet with my husband and I, go over questions, gave us some additional information to follow, information on hypnobirthing and other recommendations that she was making for us that we did that time around. It was a little different in my second and third pregnancies and deliveries. So that was when we were in New York. We were now living in Florida. So we knew that we unfortunately couldn't have the same doula. So we reached out and found, and I didn't think first that I needed a doula this time around or for my second delivery. And that was my initial thought. And we actually ended up hiring a birth photographer who is a doula. And the experience was so great again with her, but it was a little different. So we initially did a virtual meeting with her, met her, both my husband and I, and then still prior to the delivery, she did another virtual meeting where she gave me information on just recommendations on what to wear. This one was a little different because we were now doing a home birth. So recommendations on what to wear, things to consider for comfort when you're at home, for resting, for positioning. even items for my husband to wear, since we were going to have a birth pool for him to get into if we elected for him to get into, snacks to consider and whatnot. So she met with us virtually to give us all that information and was on call for us at 38 weeks. And the experience again was very rewarding with her. I say rewarding, but during the delivery of her presence and just providing comfort with me during my first home delivery. And the second delivery, or my third delivery, was another home delivery. We were fortunate enough to have her again along our side as well for the delivery of our son this past May.
Beautiful. Yes. And as you mentioned, preparation for a home birth is quite different from a birth center or a hospital. So what a doula may discuss in a prenatal for a home birth would be quite different. As you mentioned, snacks, the food you wanted to eat after delivery, whether or not the individual wanted a birth tub, as you mentioned, and a midwife will often go over all of the supplies to have on hand, but the doula can also provide tips and work as a team with the midwife. And sometimes a midwife might have apprentices or other individual assistants. So it varies again on who the individual ends up hiring.
Exactly.
But I love that you had the combination of a birth photographer and doula to be able to capture the beautiful moments of both of your births at home, and also be able to support you emotionally and physically if that camera is not in her hand.
Exactly.
So as far as the support after, you did mention that the doula with your first child checked in on you to see how breastfeeding was going, answer questions you had, support you emotionally. Was there anything else in any of your postnatal experiences that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would say just emphasizing everything that you just mentioned as far as how our first doula supported me post-delivery, but emphasizing the significance of them being there for you emotionally as well. Having a delivery, especially when it doesn't go as planned, can throw you off emotionally and mentally, and whatever, all those feelings that arise, especially as our hormones shift post-delivery. But to them being there for you post-delivery, and that was significant for me with my first delivery. I ended up suffering for postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. So, and that was not even necessarily known or diagnosed initially, but her being there, I felt was a significant help for me and just kind of making me feel at ease and comfortable. And I really valued that component of her presence still to this day. She did so much more as well, but that impact of her being there for me emotionally and mentally was so significant.
I love it. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So to pivot a little bit and learn more about what you're doing professionally, I feel like it is very fitting that you're in real estate, because I find that many of my doula clients are making big changes. They're either remodeling a home or buying a new home to get ready for whether it's baby 1 or baby 4. And sometimes they're even buying income properties and setting themselves up for just having some additional income and savings and college funds, all the things. So you're in a career that likely interacts with a lot of families making big changes in their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. My husband and I, we got started in real estate investing back in 2015. I went full time in 2023. But essentially, we are real estate investors, growing our own portfolio. But that has since led to helping others get started in investing or purchasing their own home, whether it's their first home or they're moving to a larger home or relocating, assisting others in accessing capital, finding properties, especially off-market properties, so that their savings is more significant there, especially if they are investing, but helping others navigate that industry as well, whether it's for their own personal home or investing endeavor themselves.
Excellent. And I love the mentoring that you do. It's so helpful.
Thank you.
I feel like it can be overwhelming to look at real estate investing during a time of so many different changes, again, in pregnancy and that maternity leave. So what tips do you have for our listeners who are going through the change, whether it's in real estate or in finding a support team, including a doula?
Yeah, I would say as far as building your birthing team, whether it's at home in a birthing center or in the hospital, just working with a team that you feel comfortable with, sharing your birth plan, even just vocally sharing what your expectations and your hopes are, because your team, I feel, most likely will work as closely to that plan as possible, and just feeling comfortable with them. I think that makes a world of a difference, of feeling comfortable with the team that you are laboring and delivering with. And in regards to real estate, whether you're looking for a personal home, your first home, or moving to a larger home, or whatever it may be, or looking to get into real estate investing, I would say that as far as interest rates, don't let them scare you so much. I think that that's one of the conversations I have with my community so often, is that they're scared with the interest rates, but there are so many workarounds and ways around the interest rates as well. Ultimately, don't let them scare you. And I'm always here for you as well. If you have any specific questions on that and how to navigate interest rates or funding or whatever it may be, definitely reach out and send me a DM or whatever it may be. And I'd be open and willing to give you any information that I can to help you in your personal circumstance there.
So helpful. Thank you, Laura. So you've got two websites. Can you share both of your website information with our listeners?
Yeah, so one website is lauranavaquin.com, and that's my first last name, no spaces or dashes or anything. And that is where I share some information on real estate investing and just other information about myself, and encouraging you to go after your goals and dreams, whether that's building a real estate portfolio, starting a new career, or being an entrepreneur. And then the other website is toinspire.org, and that is a nonprofit they founded in 2020, which is a 501c3, which encourages you to go after their goals and dreams by providing them skill set training, workshops, education, mentorships, and health awareness information. That we, and those for the nonprofits, we are based in New York, but also run events in California and Florida.
Excellent. And you're also on social media. Any of your favorite spaces to share content?
I would definitely say I'm on Instagram probably the most. For both that, my two handles would be at Laura Navaquin, and then also for the nonprofit is Inspire Her Foundation. And then I also have more of a general Instagram at It's Laura Nava.
Excellent. And we are fellow members of Entreprenista. So for any of our listeners who spend time on that amazing membership community, you can also find the two of us there.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. It was wonderful to hear your personal experiences, and congratulations on your recent addition to your family.
Thank you so much. I can't believe he's almost 3 months. The time flies.
It sure does. Absolutely. Well, take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Doulas. For more information about Gold Coast Doulas, visit us on our website, goldcoastdoulas.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Thank you. Remember, these moments are golden.